Okay, first I'm going to talk about the raw milk issue that's going on. The FDA finally stepped over the boundary and filed suit against one of my farmers in Right to Choose Healthy Foods that we've contracted for their animals. And the FDA filed suit for a permanent injunction in a civil court to stop them from producing raw milk for commerce. Now, they don't sell to the public. So the Amish farmer, they don't sue. So he just filed an answer saying, I'm not in commerce, you have no jurisdiction, go away. I filed a cross-complaint and intervention saying that those cows are mine, belong to Right to Choose Healthy Food, and you created a false, a fraudulent lawsuit, a trivial one, and you manufactured a warrant against him, and he's not in commerce. And I warned you on May 15th of 2010. I issued you a notice about it. You've disregarded it. It's also a conspiracy because you've gone up to quite a few of the farmers on this program, and which you have no jurisdiction over. So I filed against them for fraud, conspiracy, racketeering, deprivation of civil rights, and kidnapping, false arrest. You have to understand, if I subdue you for 5 or 10 minutes, it's kidnapping. When they do it, it's false arrest. It's bullcrap. It's kidnapping. So I've gone after them for kidnapping, not for false arrest. Well, I put kidnapping in parentheses, false arrest on the answer. So I was hoping they would make this movement for a long time, and they have. Now I got to file the suit. And there are two high-powered attorneys, one that tries cases on the right to association, which we have the right to do, clubs have the right to associate without government interference, and then an attorney who won against the FDA 7 times.
Oh, good.
So
Wow.
These attorneys have agreed to pursue it. I want to do it myself, and I'm thinking about all 3 of us doing it.
Wow, that's great.
Because we have quite a, I've named does 1 through 15, which are club members. If you go over any more, that becomes a class action suit, and I couldn't handle a class action suit. It's too complex and too complicated. So I've left it with just does 1 through 15 for members, and then against all the agents for the government, 1 to 100 does.
Wow.
So that is the situation we're going to see. I filed the cross-complaint last Tuesday, so we will see when I was in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania, visiting the farmer who was on his farm, who was filed, who was a suit against whom the suit was filed. So I will let you know by email how that goes when I get their answer. The judge could be a jerk and then throw it out, and then I'll have to appeal and go through all kinds of things, but if he doesn't throw it out, then we will proceed to trial. I asked for a jury trial. They also requested magistrates, and I said a magistrate is not a judge and will not proceed over this trial at all. And I had a jury demand trial. I'm not going to go with any judge. A judge works for the government, doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
So that is the situation there.
Wow.
Any questions about that?
Wow, that's big stuff.
Big step, yeah.
Just to clarify.
All judges work for the government. They don't work.
So how do you get around? Oh, that's with the trial.
With the jury,
trial.
yes.
So it puts them out.
Just to clarify, there's some farmers that
Well, what it is, I created Right to Choose Healthy Food, which contracts with different farmers. We lease their cows, their animals, chickens, whatever, whether we want eggs, we want meat, we want dairy, whatever. So they are not under health department restrictions for all their toxins, their poisons. They want us to put chlorine on our food and all these poisons on our food. I don't want those things on my food. So to get out of their jurisdiction, we have to create an environment that removes them from jurisdiction. They have jurisdiction over sales to the public. So when Right to Choose Healthy Food contracts with a farmer, he contracts for even the land if we want them to grow things and don't want them to be treated the way the health departments want any county, state, or federal health department regulations. We want to avoid those because they're all toxic. So we own, the Right to Choose Healthy Food members own those animals. They're not buying the milk. We own the milk. We don't buy the meat. We own the meat. We pay the farmer for caring for the animals, boarding them, milking them, bottling our food or packaging our food, and then delivering it to us in the way that we want. Then the member clubs, and I have those spread out all over, and there are many different club names that are part of Right to Choose Healthy Food clubs. Those members sign an agreement on how the food, so that they know they own the food. They're not selling it. They cannot be acting under color of law, which means they cannot be an undercover agent. And that's what they did with Dan Algier, that farmer who they filed suit against. They had several undercover agents sign the document and then claim that they were sold the milk. So it's fraud. So we have their signed, even though they use false names, we have their signed document. So it's a conspiracy. It's a rat race.
How can you possibly fight against, if they're going to pretend to be in it, that makes me worried about people I tell about. Do I need to be worried?
Worried about what?
About telling people about how to get raw milk. You have to be careful about that?
No, you tell them you have to join the club, you have to be a part owner.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You can be a part owner in anything.
Right.
So no, it's not. You have to be afraid to tell people. It's just that when you sign the membership agreement, it says you cannot testify against anything about the club, nor anyone in the club. But you have to testify against any government agent who interferes with. So these agents, these undercover agents, won't even be allowed to get on trial in the courtroom. They won't even be allowed to get on the stand because I've got an agreement.
So what's the outcome, do you see? What do you foresee?
Oh, it all depends on how hard the federal government wants to prove Nazism.
Yeah. That's what it is.
It's Nazism.
Yeah.
Full and hard and strong.
So how much they want to prove? You mean that they all want to go forward and really try?
Yeah, they want to completely control everything so that we have to buy Monsanto's products and everything. Yeah. They tried to outlaw 3 times last year manure as fertilizer because it has E. coli and dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're saying Monsanto is safe. Chemical poison safe over bacteria. When our bodies are 150 bacterial genes to every 1 human gene. We're not even 1% human. So,
Then you can't take a poop.
yeah. Take a poop, you're breaking the law. You're contaminating everything. And that's one of the things they said, that Dan Algier was spreading disease to the community by producing raw milk. Raw milk has never been contagious. No disease that you supposedly get from raw milk or any milk is contagious. So it's another more fraud and false acting conspiracy. That's why I went after them hard. Pardon?
I wonder when they're going to make breastfeeding illegal. I don't know.
They've tried.
Wow.
Oh yeah, they've tried. Yeah, they've tried that.
What the state of California doing anything against this?
The state of California, no, the state of California doesn't touch it.
Would it make any sense to petition Jerry Brown? Something like that?
Not Jerry Brown.
Or somebody up in that.
I think he's in
state.
it.
Well,
He's already
who's the
in it.
senator involved in this? Is the pro senator involved in this? When it's pro Ron Paul?
Yeah, Ron Paul. He's not a senator. He's a congressman.
Oh, he's from Texas.
Yeah,
What's he
he's
doing
from
for
Texas.
this?
He wrote the raw milk bill. I worked with him on it. And he just issued a new raw milk bill that will wipe out the FDA, of course, completely. Jurisdiction over raw milk crossing state lines. But it's very doubtful that that will pass. Because when I spent 3 months lobbying, months setting it up, and there were 5 of us that went to Washington, D.C. in 2007, and we spent 2 months going to every congressman, senators, and House of Representatives, all 535. And I gave them my milk report, mine and Dr. Douglas's milk report in favor of raw milk, report in favor of raw milk, issued that to everyone. And we had conversations with probably 115, for anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours. And we were out all day long, 10 hours a day, doing this for that period. And let me tell you, most of them thought raw milk was dangerous. Raw milk was dangerous. They believed the media scam on it, the propaganda.
Yeah, the negative propaganda.
Yeah.
That's all.
So and it's constant. So it's likely that it won't pass. I mean, we all have to do. Everybody's going to have to send in, their thing saying, this is false information. I've been drinking raw milk even when it's soured and even when it's bad and not clean and never had a disease, so this is false information. Everybody's going to have to do that. We're going to have to get, several million people to do it. That might make a difference. But if the president goes through and vetoes it like Schwarzenegger did, we got that bill through the Assembly and the Senate here in California a year and a half ago, and it passed almost unanimously. Out of both the Senate and the Assembly, only 2 people voted against it. So that meant a couple of 100 people voted for it, and Schwarzenegger vetoed it, just like that. So it's a dance that they do, because when the president or a governor vetoes something, they can override, because there are more votes, more representation from the senators and the assembly persons than there is one person in the highest office. So all they had to do was override it. And like Michael said, it was out of courtesy. Courtesy to whom? Who the hell are they working for? Are they working for the Republican Party or Schwarzenegger? Or are they working for the people?
Exactly.
Courtesy to us.
Right.
That's what it should be. So
How's this affect organic pastures since there's some, they don't cross the state line, but they sell just in California, or do they cross straight?
they can pass across the state line if they freeze it.
Oh, God.
So right now, is this law going to affect them in California?
No.
Because
It's only going across state lines.
Okay, so we can buy organic pastures.
Yeah. But I don't like organic pasture.
Because
They
nutritionally deficient?
they have to keep their coliform count down to 10. The only way to do that is use heavy chlorine in the tanks and not rinse them completely.
Is that?
That's why you got that funny taste in it. Yeah. And plus, he's a greedy man, Mark McAfee. He cuts the cream off and sells extra cream and leaves the milk skimmed. So it's not really, and he's got whole milk on there. It's not whole.
Yeah, it does always
Where
seem
is
thin.
he located?
In Fresno.
Oh, then he's the only one who has a
A big one, yeah. We've got another dairy here, Claraville, but they're not grass fed. Those cows never see grass, and they're hay fed, and plus they're commercial organic feed fed. Now they got on me about a year ago. They said, you've got to stop bad-mouthing our milk. I said, I don't bad-mouth your milk. I just say you use a commercial, non-organic brand of feed for those cows when you milk them. Oh, no, we don't. I said, well, send me the label. The last time I got your labels, it was just a regular old dairy feed commercial brand. Send me your labels. They never sent me their labels, so I knew that they were lying.
What's going to happen if you drink that milk and drink it? Are you going to get sick?
No, you just won't be as healthy. That's why I have our milk, from our cows in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and other places.
Yeah, my health has definitely improved since I started drinking the Pennsylvania milk instead of the organic pasture.
Incredibly good.
And you understand why you can't have the contract with the farmer. You've got to legally support him. That's why I can't let you, make that contract through Right to Choose Healthy Foods with that farmer, with Eli King.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go on with the Q&A. So, start with you, Joe.
Clicking in my ears, usually it starts in the evening. I think it's associated with wax buildup in there, but how do I get rid of it?
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's if he has a good beat. Could you join the jazz club? Clicking in the ear usually means that the ear is opening and expanding and contracting, contracting and expanding, contracting and expanding constantly, and that causes the click. If you have a wax buildup inside, it'll make the clicking sound as it opens and closes. Because it's wax, it'll stick together and make like that.
Why is it doing that?
Your ear's probably going through in and out of detoxification, or there's poor circulation into it, and all the pulsing doesn't always make it. So what you do is put a hot water bottle against that ear at night and sleep with it. And that'll help melt the wax and also increase circulation.
What about laying like this in the hot water bath for a while?
That'll be helpful, but you need it for many, many hours. Getting the eardrum is sunken deep into the head. So what happens is the circulation and heat getting into it, you'd have to have your head underwater for at least 90 minutes.
I was able to get a lot of wax out by doing that.
Yeah,
Just going with the finger, I got it incredible. I mean, it was so plugged with wax that I could hardly hear out of this ear.
Do you want to get the wax out?
Yeah, you definitely want to. The wax is like mucus. If it gets toxic, you need to remove it. You need to put heat. Allow it to dissolve, soften, and run out. And it's just like a beeswax. Once you hit a temperature of about 100 degrees, it's going to get thin and start moving.
Yeah, that's what it did on the hot bath. Is it a bad idea to have an ear, nose, to throw doctor take it out with he has a little spoon instrument to do it with?
You can do it yourself.
Yeah. Just by
yeah, because they'll put a chemical on it. They'll put, like wood alcohol or something on it to put in your ear. They always medicate. Everything they medicate, medication's poison all the time.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, do you have a question, Fred?
Yeah, last time I did a weight loss was about 4, maybe even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've said, do it every 2.5, and I keep saying to myself, you got to go do it, because it's been a while.
Uh-huh.
But every time, it's just like, if I'm not doing one detox, I'm doing another. I just had a flu, and then I'll have some pains, or then I'll go through some vomiting, or I'll have diarrhea. And I go, I don't want to do the weight loss while I'm doing this detox, so 4 years is going to go on 5, and it's going to go on 6, and so I don't know if I should just do it or if I should just coast. And
well, you have to understand that if you don't do it, then you're going to keep having your symptoms. If you go through like hot baths while you're doing, mainly proteins and getting the fat off of your body with the contaminants in it, then you're not going to have to do it with colds and flus or vomit and diarrhea. And it's a good idea. You need to take it off. I think it should be every 2.5 years.
Okay.
Usually in most people, and it'll happen naturally. You'll have, a cold or a flu that'll take a lot of weight off at the same time. Doesn't work for you that way? Your body doesn't?
Well, I just had a flu and I maybe lost 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So,
well, keep doing it. From then on, just keep the process of the weight loss.
Then do the weight. Because I was thinking, geez, I just had a flu. I shouldn't go into a weight loss with Do you know what I mean?
No, because that's why the flu happened, to help lose that excess weight and toxins.
Okay.
So you can mitigate the amount of symptoms that you will experience, the amount of colds and flus, if you go on the weight loss program.
So essentially, I should just do it
Yeah,
regardless.
do it. Especially right after a flu, that's the best time to do it.
Oh, okay. See, I thought the other way around.
If you were skinny, no, absolutely. If you were, only slightly overweight, not a problem. But I can see you're carrying about a good 15, 20 pounds of it.
Oh, more than that. I mean, I
mean to where it's...
Oh,
Yeah.
to what it should be. Yeah.
I like everybody to be overweight.
Yeah.
And I'm on the thin side right now because I just spent 4 months traveling and I can't get all the foods that I want. But I'm still 18% body fat. Most athletes who have this kind of muscle structure, and they exercise and I don't, are about 7 to 8% body fat, 10 at the most. I'm 18% body fat. That's because on a raw diet, raw fats are very small. When you cook them, they swell anywhere from 5 to 50 times their normal size. So you've got, if I were eating cooked foods, I would be quite overweight looking. But I am 18% body fat, but look thin. And I haven't eaten cooked fats since 1972. Been a long time. Allison, do you have a question?
Yes. I have two questions, but the first one, really, it's kind of funny, but when I sit a certain way, I put on shoes or whatnot, and I've experienced this, several times, more than twice. Something pops out of my belly here. I don't know what it is. It actually pops out and it hurts. And then I massage it and it goes back in again. I don't know what it is.
It's a
Do you know?
hernia.
Is that what it is? So it means I have a hernia?
Yeah, you have a hernia.
I have a
Probably an
hernia.
intestinal hernia.
Really? So what's going on with that?
Well, a hernia is an area that will not heal and seal.
Oh.
Okay? And it's always because there's some kind of industrial toxin there. Could have been from a vaccine. It could have been from a long round of antibiotics that got lodged in that part of the body. Whether it's, a hernia, genital hernia, or a hiatal hernia, or an intestinal hernia. It doesn't heal. There are toxins there. You have to get those removed. And if it's in the intestines, it's difficult.
But it's like up here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could still be intestinal?
Oh, your small intestines cover this whole area, and then your bowel comes across here.
So, okay.
So that looks like it's either bowel or right at the end of the small intestine.
So, can it dissolve or?
Well, like I say, you have to remove the toxins that are there without looking in your eyes.
Yeah.
The next time we have a consult,
Right.
I can take a look there and see what is causing it, what you need to take to be able to remove that particular type of toxin.
To remove
Whether
that.
it's mercury or iodine or a fungus from an antibiotic like penicillin.
So I was telling Fred on the way over here, there's a very large lump. It was very high, for about 1.5 years on my back. Hard. Pretty high and raised. And then it started to get a little reddish. I started to put hot compresses, the hot water bottle. It started to get more red. It started to soften and flatten and soften and flatten. It's completely gone. Completely gone. It was really hard.
Well,
So-
you have lymph glands all over the body, and they are normally about this size. And then you have nodes, which are very small, like the size of a BB, all over. Now, the lymph system is the only immune system. But we shouldn't think of it as an immune system because the body was not set up to be defensive. It was set up to be progressive and into maintenance, cleanse out the body. So the lymphatic system is responsible for cleaning anything in the body and dissolving dead cells and eliminating them. So if you get lumps, no matter where they are, and it gets larger and larger and hard, that means some pretty waxy fats, hardened fats, are getting into that one lymphatic gland, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Heat's the only way to dissolve it and make it liquid again to help remove it. Then it moves through the skin most of the time. 90% of toxins are supposed to move through the skin. So that's what the redness was. They were starting to move out your skin. Then when the toxins are neutralized and move out the skin, then the body can take that lymph somewhere else. And lymph is about 80% fat with several varieties of cholesterol, about 30 that can dissolve and neutralize all kinds of different substances. So that's how that works. You guys going to take off?
Maybe take your one.
Yeah, we're going to take the electrical one.
Yeah. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, everyone, for...
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Lovely to meet you. Yes.
Right.
Good luck with everything.
Okay. You let me have a copy of the tape? When you
Yeah, I'll get the office to get in touch with you and let you know. But no.
So when is
Terrific.
Thanks
Thank you.
so much.
Yay.
Take care.
So
Take
when
care,
is
Ian.
You.
Thank you very
Carlos.
much. November or December of this year.
what program again?
It's called Swedish in the Discovery Channel. It's going to be airing all around the world. It's also shot all around the world, so it takes a while for it to get edited. I really enjoy the food also. Sorry.
Take care, Carlos.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice trip back.
Thank you.
Okay, so the lymphatic system is, primarily it is the immune system. You hear about the phantom immune system that the medical profession talks about. It's phantom because it makes you stupid. They are already stupid. There is no phantom immune system. They talk about this antibody and that antibody and all this. It's all the lymphatic system, which includes the white blood cells. White blood cells are identical to how the lymphatic system operates. Those are phagocytes that eat up toxins. Your body uses fats to dissolve toxins and to isolate them and to neutralize them, along with good alkalinizing minerals. So in dissolving, your body may use arsenic and the very toxic substances when they're above trace level, but it may use it in a solvent to dissolve toxic matter that's too toxic for bacteria, parasites, or fungus to eat. Those are our normal detoxifiers. Now, that's not an immune thing. That is a natural process of decomposition and recycling. So don't fall for this immune system stuff. It'll make you crazy and put you in fear, and then you go take their killing drugs, like antibiotics. It's an insane practice. These are very bright minds that are made stupid.
We can use our own heavy metals in our body to detoxify.
Yeah, we can use them in making solvents.
And is that why sometimes when you detox, you get rid of more metals? Also, it's also metal poisoning at the same time because sometimes you can taste it or you don't.
Yeah, if it's a flu, if it's a cold, that's mainly bacteria. But if you have a flu, you're going to use toxic compounds to help dissolve tissue.
Whatever you got available. Huh?
Yeah.
They always tell you that these antibodies, attach themselves to bacteria or viruses. Is that completely false?
Well, you have to understand that you've got attachments that take place, unnatural attachments all the time, especially when you're eating cooked food and toxic food. Let's say when you cook a starch. Now, normally everything is combined in a healthful unit. Even if we can't digest it, there's a healthful, non-toxic unit to it. Once it's cooked, starches fractionate, fats fractionate, proteins fractionate, and then they have an affinity to clump together. certain pairs and certain communities will bind together. And none of them are alive. None of them are active. It's just a reaction, like magnets are not alive, but they will attract certain metallic minerals and attach to them and hang on to them. Well, all of your minerals have a electromagnetic field, so they will attract certain substances. The medical profession, the pharmaceutical house is a big one that's responsible for all this research. They identify that as, oh, this is what's happening, that's what's happening. They give you a false impression of what's happening. If they said, you know, the truth of it is, if you ate raw foods, you wouldn't have all your problems. Don't take any medications, and you wouldn't have most of your problems. If they said that, they wouldn't be in business, but they don't say that. And that's exactly the truth.
Mm-hmm. So we shouldn't be eating starches, cooked starches?
You need to read my books more thoroughly. I talk about it in the books rather extensively.
So the purpose of antibodies isn't really to go after bacteria or viruses, like what you said before. They really go after the toxins. Do I understand that right?
Well, they go after waste products and toxins that may form from the waste products if the body's not removing them properly.
Okay.
But mostly it's because industrial toxins, you've got 60,000 chemicals that are now used in food. And that's supposed to be safe. A shelf life of 100 years on a cereal. Hello? If it doesn't decompose in the box, it's not going to decompose in me. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So you have to understand that doctors, even though they talk all this chemistry, are really stupid. And you have to understand they are stupid. And there's no niceness about it. They are stupid. They are leading people to hurt themselves out of bullshit chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. False information.
Yeah.
And not understanding, not having the true information.
But see, if they just take the time and stop trying to make, 20 grand a day or 60 or 80 grand a day with surgeries, if they just take the time to observe what they're doing, they would learn. But they're so interested in making money.
That's what I understand.
That's it.
You could say, especially cancer patients, I mean, they repeat this across the nation hundreds of thousands of times a year, and with the same results. They can't see that?
Yeah. It's absurd. But you have to take a look at it. For every cancer patient, they make about $280,000. Big business. Wow, big business. Let the cancer come on. They want cancer.
They did it with my mom in 1965. We're doing the same thing.
They did it to me in 67 and 68. I mean, and back then it cost, 160 grand for me to go through all their crap. And I made them eat 80 grand. They took 80 grand of my money. Do you have a question, Lisa? And Lisa, thank you for hosting.
Yes.
I guess I ask this a lot, but I want to go back to the baths and getting in hot water and the difference between staying in a short time and what the temperature should be.
Right. Okay.
And one stops the detox and the other promotes it. And what if you start doing baths every day versus so many times a week? If you're attracted to do more and you want to get in, is that a problem? Can you use your intuition? Or what's the rules of thumb?
Okay. Most of the toxins we have in the body come from hydrogenated vegetable oils that are every product. You go to a restaurant, you get French fries, you get chips, you get a cereal, packages in all markets. They do not use animal fats anymore to fry anything. They use hydrogenated vegetable oils, which is plastic. Okay, so that hardens in the system. The only way you can eliminate those, and those are the most grievous of things you can have in the body, as far as clogging the lymphatic system. So you have to melt those out of the body, get them to where they're a liquid form so the body can start changing the chemistry to excrete those toxins, those fatty toxins. So the way to do that is with the heat, baths, and hot water bottles. Your lymph system, like I say, you have lymph glands and lymph nodes all over the body. The network, the venous network, is just like the bloodstream and just like the neurological system, only more complex because we have the glands and nodes attached to those circulatory vessels in the lymph system. When the lymphatic glands break those substances down in the nodes, a lot of times the nodes are just way stations waiting to be able to deliver those toxins to the lymph glands to handle. We're getting so toxic that the lymph nodes are starting to work as lymph glands, and they're getting even more congested. So everything's congested. That is the main problem of disease. Your lymph system can't clean itself. So when the lymph system finishes breaking down, when the lymph glands finish breaking down a substance, neutralizing it, dissolving it, it puts it in the connective tissue and under the skin to be perspired. If it's waxed, hardened plastic, it's not going to move out of the pore. You've got all these large, waxy, plastic molecules that can't pass through. They've got to be melted. So to get it melted from the connective tissue, it takes at least 40 minutes, 45 minutes for that to get to the point where you're melting it, and it's perspiring out of the body. So it takes about 25 minutes. Within 40 minutes, 45 minutes, you've done a pretty good job of taking out a few layers.
What temperature? 105?
Well, 102 to 105. If you want to get deep into the lymphatic glands, and they're big ones and they're deep all over, and you're going to melt a little at a time, it takes 1 hour to get to the point where you're melting it, and then another 30 minutes to make a big effect. Now, imagine a stick of butter in the middle of a, inch by inch stick of butter in a 2-cup canning jar with a lid on it in a hot environment at only 105 degrees. And you've got a cold piece of butter, a cold stick of butter in the center. Now the heat is going to work against the cold. The cold is going to be generated outward. I use cold because we have an air conditioning system. We have a radiator system in our body. Preventing from going back, because I'm used to having that sound thing on the back. I can move back now. So when you have to stay in that bath a long time for it to get that deep. And that heat going from the outside into the layer in between the jar, the glass jar, and the butter takes time before it actually starts melting where it drips. For the lymphatic system, it takes about 25 minutes, 40 minutes to do a good job of just about a centimeter of melting. For the lymphatic glands, it takes 60 minutes to get that point and 90 minutes to get that point where it's just melting a centimeter. So, and if you're going to melt the large lymphatic glands, it's best to have a temperature of 105 degrees. For people who are resilient against the heat, they go to 108. Now, a lot of times people get heat prostration in a hot tub like that with a constant temperature without getting in and out. That is because the brain heats up, and the brain does not like to be heated over about 102 degrees. It becomes very uncomfortable. So get a bowl of cold water with ice cubes floating in it and a washcloth. And don't wring it out completely and put it on the top of your head and let that cold water just drip. And within a minute with that on your head, you're going to be fine in that water. And you'll be able to stay in there for hours if you want.
There's something else
Wow.
that I've actually studied. You breathe through your mouth. There's something in your mouth that helps cool the brain.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't work for most people.
Really?
Yeah. But it doesn't work for most people. Most people still can't tolerate it. And it takes a direct, heavy cooling of the brain.
So what's the difference between putting your head underwater as long as you can and not? Well, I've also thought, well, how do you do that for your brain? Does it get hot enough without sticking your head in the water?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it can. I've seen it many times, yeah. But you can put your head underwater if you like. Or you can sleep with hot water bottles at your head.
So how high do you have to go to the water? It's like I'll be in it and like maybe covering my legs and stuff, and I've got to bend my knees because the tub's not long
Yeah,
enough.
you cross them like this, and then the whole legs can stay under. So you just cross them like this, and your whole body can come under. I go under
I
to
think my
here.
tub's wide enough to do that.
Oh, yes, it will.
Yeah.
You watch.
So the water should be up to my neck?
No, you can get up to here.
Do you close off the overflow tube?
No.
I unscrewed mine, and I put a rubber stopper, and then I cut it right off the top, so it only has this much way up the top of that hole. So that water can go all the way up to that point without leaking out slowly.
So you're sitting for 9 minutes, water
Up to here. I
covering
bring
your entire body.
yeah.
Keep warming it up, and you just make it cold.
Well, in the bath you have to keep warming it, but I had a hot tub until I moved.
They just started fluoridating San Diego's tap water, and
I thought you got that stopped again.
No, they finally did it.
It's
God.
and the correction. If you won't go there, it's just as bad as you can imagine it. So, to make a long story short, of course, now San Diegans are contending with this, and those of us who had the foresight to get whole house water filter systems and so forth have less of it. But it's not, you can't get it all out that way unless you have a whole house reverse osmosis system, which is virtually impossible for the average person to have a one that really works. And so, love to hear your thoughts on this. I've spent quite a bit of money to get a new porcelain tub to be able to do these soaks. And then they, I mean, seriously. So.
Yeah, but, in L.A. we've had fluoride for 25 years.
Yeah.
And we've got 197 chemicals in our water. Oh, yeah. Because the water is used in, what's that place way up on the hill, in the mountains there? Anywhere, there's a township up there that uses it first, then the valley uses it. And the valley's nothing but industry, and then we get it third hand, so very, very toxic. I always put milk in the water, vinegar, and the formula's in the book. And we want to live under baths, under health modalities. So I put about 3/4 of a cup of milk in there, raw milk, of course, and about 3 to 4 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar, and about 2 heaping tablespoons of sea salt or Epsom salt. And then if you want to make your skin, nice and supple and keep it from drying out from being in there so long, when you get out, you put about 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of coconut cream in there, and it just skims the top. So when you get out, it just coats you very evenly and nicely. So that's what I use to neutralize any poisons in the water. You could also throw some clay in there, especially now that we have the threat of your nuclear, fallout.
Yeah. That's in the water now too.
Yep.
So can you take
So that's going to neutralize the fluoride, whatever fluoride's in the water, and that's going to
It neutralizes any of those poisons.
Okay.
All of those poisons.
How much Terramin clay, I take it, which you put in the water.
Yeah. I put about 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
2 tablespoons per tub, 30-gallon tub.
Dry? Just put it in.
Yeah,
The
dry.
thing on that is make sure you let it sit before you drain it. About 2 hours to settle, or else it'll clog up the pipes.
Yes.
So how many? Can you take a bath every day? Can you build up to that point where you feel like it's? Now I like to take them every day. Do you see like I get so exhausted in there? And now I want to do them. Is that? Do you intuitively listen to that? 'Cause you said once you shouldn't do them every day. You should do them every other day.
No, 90-minute ones you don't do every day. You do the 40-minute ones every day, and
You
you
get
do
it
the
melted.
90-minute ones 2 days a week.
Is that consistently throughout your detox? I mean, does it matter? You
Throughout
don't change
40
it.
years of your life.
So don't change
The
it.
reason I like that is because when the people who've done it, and I've seen it in the last week again in New Jersey when I've seen patients there, those who did it even for only 6 months continuously, did the baths, the astounding look of their skin and in the iris where the skin is and all the lymphatic fog that was there, gone.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
gone.
Wow.
Not the lymphatic congestion, but all that stuff that was stored in their connective tissue, gone. 6 months to a year.
Oh, wow.
You know, and before I was watching that take 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
So there's a huge difference. On this diet can't do everything because of the chemical structure of our industrial pollution. And when you've got hydrogenated vegetable oils clogging up the body, there's no way that our diet can do it. Only. You've got to use the heat.
On that note, you know the Japanese kuro, that's the bathtub that you sit on? It seems that's very good for this. It's much easier to hold the heat and also the amount of water. It's not that much as a big tub.
Yeah, it would work better, but most people aren't used to getting into a thin cylinder.
Yeah.
But those work very well. They also conserve space.
Yeah. And do you know where?
Well, I only know 3 people that have them, and I didn't ask them where they got. But you go on the internet, you'll find it. You'll find them.
Is that the reason why the Japanese got so much in the hot water? I went to Japan and everybody loves to.
Well, Japanese, because they had the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, they had to take care of themselves much more than any other race. They had to get through all of that. So it became a science how to survive. They found that the heat, the clay, the raw fish, maintain life better and help get rid of the radiation poison.
So those will help the radiation now that we're having now. The baths would be one of the best things to do for this radiation right now.
So it doesn't get there where, like the glands would be secreting constantly, perspiring to make sure you're helping the lymphatic system. Because if it can't get to the lymphatic system, it's going to store somewhere else.
Radiation.
Yeah, in the liver, in the pancreas, in the thyroid, in the pituitary. It's going to store somewhere where there's fat.
Then you want to have your smoothie too, right? While you're having your bath.
Well, the pineapple smoothie is important for the 60 to 90 minute bath, but not so important for the short bath.
So it's a good habit just to do this
Every day. Yep.
every day.
And a hot tub is always the best because you have a constant temperature.
You talked before about but if you keep the temp down more,
It's a dry heat. It's going to dry out your sinuses. The heat needs to be directly in contact with the skin. You've got an air pocket. Your body is an air conditioner. You would have to constantly move in either steam or a sauna to keep the heat contacting directly with the skin, because your body creates an air pocket to cool itself. It does that in water too, but it doesn't work as well. You'll notice that you can be there and the water feels comfortable and you start moving and all of a sudden it gets hot on the skin again.
Yeah.
Well, when you've got an air pocket, it's very easy to do that, and the air will flow with the body. But when you're moving in water, it's too heavy. It breaks up the cooling system, the buffering water between you and the heat.
When I get out of the bath, sometimes I get under the covers and I sweat profusely for
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Keep going it, yeah. Keep doing it.
It really melts it.
Well, I would say you still need some fat in there. So coconut cream, there's got to be something left over you can put in there. If I were going to, I would use a half a cup if I didn't have the milk. Instead of 3 tablespoons, I'd be using a half a cup.
Could you use olive oil?
Woo! Let me tell you, your hair will be such a mess when you get out. But yeah, you can use that. It would just remember that coconut cream, 92 to 93% of the coconut cream, which are oils, are water-soluble fats. So it disperses in the water. You put oil, olive oil, any kind of oil, it's going to float on the top. And it's not going to get in there and arrest the toxin.
I couldn't find anything else.
If there was no dairy available at all. I don't know. Just asking.
And you do not want to rinse this off your body. What you put into the water that you soak in, you want to leave and just dry yourself off. You don't want to shower it off afterwards.
No, what I do is I take a washcloth, either silk or cotton, soft, and I rub it off because I want all the dead skin off as well so that I can make sure I perspire properly. So while I'm in there, after 20 minutes, I'll be cleaning all the dead cells off because they will have softened in that time. And before I get out, anything that's come out of the skin, which may be mercury that's locked onto the skin with some coconut cream or some milk or some clay, I will rinse that, wipe it off, and then get out of the tub and dry.
Excuse me, how do you keep your after you take a bath?
I just rinse it with warm water. Sometimes the coconut cream will make a line, but I just rub it with my hand in warm water and it comes right off. If you use a washcloth, it'd probably be a little quicker, easier. But then you've got the coconut cream in the cloth. Yes. Now that the radiation is here, absolutely. Barbara, do you have a question?
Oh.
Marilyn, I'm sorry. Marilyn Brown.
I just can't think of it right now.
Okay, come back.
Okay.
Suzanne? That's how you pronounce it, right?
Suzanne, yes, that's correct. That is correct. I have read all of your books and online articles and so forth. And I was wondering with regards to people who have the adrenaline surges or adrenaline rushes, especially at night, that cause severe insomnia, that, in your experience, what is the best way to try to manage that, to assist people in minimizing that and to sleep through the night? And it's, I mean, you're talking about somebody who works during the day, and to then get up in the middle of the night and prepare some cooked rice, or, you know what I'm saying? So what would be what is your experience with that?
Well, I use many different things now because it's a difficult adrenaline. You know, one little pin prick of adrenaline can allow you to lift a car.
Wow.
So it's so concentrated. And when you've got a toxic adrenaline running, it takes a lot of nutrients to bind with it and neutralize it. So now I suggest that people use the nut formula first and foremost. Cheese regularly, like every 30 minutes, they're going through it. And also clay and milk. Clay and milk works wonders for helping to sleep. And it will work all through the night, as will cheese.
Just putting a little bit of clay with the milk?
Yeah, you take a tablespoon of the moist clay, and you mix that with 2 to 4 ounces of raw milk. And it tastes a little like chocolate milk if you're using the Terramin clay.
Do you do this before you go to bed, or is this what you do when you wake up?
Do it before you go to bed. You know, I would say in the evening sometime, somewhere. If you go to sleep at 10:30, you should have it around 7:30. So it's already starting to rip the stuff out. And it takes 24 hours to move substances through the human body. So if it takes 19 hours to get to the bowel, and then 5 hours to clear the bowel. Sometimes it'll hold on to it even longer, called constipation. but that's when the body is trying to get all the nutrients out of the feces that it can. And it's really not true constipation. True constipation is when you've got a block in your intestines, in your large intestines, and nothing's moving. Not just because your bacteria is holding fecal matter up in the sigmoid colon to get every digested thing it can out of it. So the clay will be moving through us. You take it in 2 hours before you go to sleep. That still has 17 hours to work while you're sleeping. Cheese, you have cheese every 30, 45 minutes to an hour. You're going to have it in there from the time you go to sleep all the way through that 19-hour trip through the body collecting poisons. As long as it's raw, no salt cheese. And you don't eat honey with that cheese. Why? If you eat honey with the cheese, you'll digest it and reabsorb your poisons.
Oh, no honey with the cheese.
You eat honey with the cheese twice daily, and for people who are very underweight, they can eat it more. But you make sure that's separate from where you have the cheese to detox. So I usually recommend that people have cheese and honey together 35 minutes after their meat meals, after they finish their meat meals. Have anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons. If it were a big person, it would be 3 or 4 tablespoons with a tiny bit of honey, 1/6 to 1/12. So let's say you had 1 tablespoon of honey, the maximum would be 1 teaspoon. 1 tablespoon of cheese, the maximum would be 1 teaspoon of honey. That's 1/3. But I recommend even less. I recommend 1 tablespoon cheese to 1/2 teaspoon of honey. Unless somebody has a huge depletion of mineral enzymes in their body.
Yeah, I find raw cheese very constipating. I can't eat it.
Yeah. Well, you need to do that suppository. You have to understand, Michael, the colon, the bacteria in the colon gets the scum of what's ever left. And it's not healthy. It's not that good. So they're getting pre-digested this, toxic that. Everything in the colon that goes through there, they're getting whatever's left, the dredges. Plus all the toxins that are moving through the intestinal tract and out the intestinal tract. The cheese helps mitigate that. However, the body is absorbing all the best fats through the small intestine. The bowel's not getting much. So I suggest that people take 3 tablespoons each of butter, dairy cream, and coconut cream, and 1/4 teaspoon of honey. Mix it all together in a 4-ounce jelly jar. Immerse, and you do this right before you go to sleep, and you immerse it in a bowl of hot water for about 4 minutes, hot enough to make your hand uncomfortable but not burn it, for 4 seconds. Then take a bulb syringe and then stick that in your rectum. And you're going to feed that E. coli and the bacteria from the back end. It no longer will hold up your fecal matter trying to get every particle it can. That's not true constipation. That's deficiency. So the best way to do it is you get down on your knees on a bed or the floor. In the bed, you could tilt and cause yourself to squirt in the wrong direction. So it's better to get on a solid surface like the floor. And then stick it in this way or this way, whatever's comfortable. But get down after you put it in and roll your stomach like a belly dancer. So you get it to move up the descending colon. Then you lie on your right side, and you can lift your leg and roll your stomach like a belly dancer again, and to get it to move up the transverse colon. You're going to be feeding those bacteria. You're going to sleep better. You're not going to, hold on to the fecal matter forever, and you may only have to do it once a week. Some people, like Michael, may have to do it every 3 days.
So it's butter, dairy cream. Is it coconut cream too?
3 tablespoons of each. You could do it without the coconut cream. But the coconut cream helps move things a little faster. And don't let it out of the body. Keep it in all night. You let those E. coli and other bacteria colon bacteria eat. They're starving.
Yeah, it came out all over my car seat.
Well, did you do what I said? Did you roll your stomach? Did you lie on your right side?
No, I didn't do that, but
You left it in the sigmoid colon. Try it again doing it that way. Or not. It's up to you, Michael.
Good at night. Aajonus, you mentioned for getting your sleep from the milk. You more milk, so that works just to play, or?
Well, no. She asked about an adrenaline problem.
So how do you determine if you're having an adrenaline problem?
If you can't sleep and you're hyperactive.
So I'm only laughing because I have problems with adrenaline. No.
Yeah, you'll
I feel like someone's got a gun to your head. I don't sleep very well. So.
Then I would say, well, you're on the thin side up here. You gain good weight, and I like that.
Well, I need to get rid of it.
No, you don't. No, you're perfect. You're safe the way you are. Your skin is looking better. Everything's looking better. You're not half as dry as you used to be. You're still very dry. So you're not getting enough fats to the system, to the skin, because your insides were all dry and they're using it up faster and get to the skin. So you need to feed your skin from the outside too. Bone marrow is the best. So just rub bone marrow and go to North Star Bison, order some bone marrow out of the bone. You're going to pay for shipping of the bone and it's going to cost you just as much. And then you have to pop it out of the bone anyway. And sometimes you'll get bones that have no bone marrow in it.
Yeah.
So if you order the bone marrow, you're getting all bone marrow. There's no question. And just let it stand out at room temperature. Put it in a small, ounce jar, like a small bee pollen jar or a royal jelly jar, ounce one. Stick it in warm water and let it get very soft and put it on your skin and eat the rest.
I accidentally got salt in my before I had an experience like this. And the salt in particular revs up the adrenals.
No. Salt is an explosive. Sodium isolated is an explosive. It's more volatile than nitroglycerin. Wow. 1 football size of pure sodium will take out New York City and all the buildings. 1 football size. And my father worked with General Electric trying to make it into a weapon, a bomb, and it was so volatile that 1.5 degrees temperature change could set it off. They spent 60 years trying to make it into a weapon and still have not been able to in $2 billion. So it is a volatile. If you want to see how volatile it is, there were 3 guys that went on the internet were going to ridicule me about salt. And they got 3 frog legs that had been killed within 24 hours, and they salted them. And they're giggling and laughing, expecting nothing to happen. Within about 15 seconds of salting these things, these legs started jumping, just jumping. Now, these are dead. They've been off of these frogs for a while, hours, and they are jumping. You cannot stop it. It is volatile as an explosive. And it only took about 15 seconds or less for the salt to touch the skin, not the skin, but the peeled leg of the frog that was peeled, so it was open flesh, to isolate the sodium from the potassium or iodide, whatever table salt they were using, and causing the explosion. Now, they said, and I said, now, what do you think will happen if you use pepper on it? Because it's very caustic, it's hot. And I said, won't do a thing. So they take just 1 leg and they pepper it. And I mean, they're putting probably 10 times more pepper than they put salt. And the leg jumps once and that's it. But with the salt, I mean, it was just a few sprinkles. Those legs were jumping. Now, they only leave it on for 30 seconds. But it went on for almost 2.5 minutes.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You put frog legs, YouTube, salt, and you'll come up with it.
But the body doesn't need salt?
you don't want salt, you want sodium in form of food.
Yeah, but you still have to put salt in bath water.
Yeah, but that doesn't get absorbed into the body. If you put 2 cups of salt in that water, you're going to absorb it in. Probably 1 cup of salt into 34, 35 gallons, you will absorb salt.
What about the ocean?
In the ocean, you will absorb salt, sodium, sodium salt. That's why you can't drink ocean water.
Right.
Is Epsom salt better?
Yeah, Epsom salt is a little bit better. It's not so concentrated in just one, mainly sodium. But, if you're using sea salt, you're getting a variety of nutrients. But in Epsom salt, you're getting a higher ratio of calcium and magnesium, than just sodium being the highest.
Should you do one time and then one the other time? Vary it?
Sure, you can do anything you want.
Yeah. I mean, would that be good or not?
I think it would be good.
Yeah.
Epsom salt is probably less expensive than sea salt.
It's way less expensive.
Yeah.
Like 10%.
I thought it was mainly Epsom salt.
Well, it's got a high magnesium content, but it's just not magnesium.
Oh, I thought
It's supposed to have all those minerals in it. They just accentuate because it's the higher ratio of these sulfur and magnesium. Okay, next. Jennifer, right? Jeanette, I'm sorry. Jeanette.
I'm sorry, I can't read your writing. She wrote down a question.
Go ahead. She wanted to.
You asked it for her.
Okay, I'll answer for her. Okay, I have been reading a great deal online about the radioactive fallout and how it's affecting everything. Including, I put fruit trees in this little tiny yard that we have. Turns out in Germany today, from Chernobyl, in forests where mushrooms grow and the wild boars eat the mushrooms in these forests, that if a hunter shoots a wild boar, they are required by law to have it inspected for its radiation content because there's so much radiation in the wild mushrooms from these very porous sorts of floors in the forest because of how the mushrooms take it up like a sponge. The boar eats it, concentrates in the boar's body, and up to 1,000 boars per year are not allowed to be consumed because the radiation levels are so high. This is from Chernobyl today. So I'm reading this, and of course, what did I use in my yard that's nothing but, hard pan concrete? I got forest products to amend the soil, right, to put in the macadamia tree, these things, So now I'm sitting here thinking, holy crap, pardon my language, but so I covered some of them up around the base to keep the rainwater off, and I'm putting filtered water on them to try to keep, the rainwater from... Anyway, so this is... I'm just wondering if... And I've read that there are a lot of very creative farmers in that region who came up with ways to amend soil with clays and so forth and different minerals to try to neutralize the toxicity from the radiation. And was wondering if because you have so much contact with these farmers, and I don't have the luxury to live on a piece of land where I can be a farmer, which I would love to do that. If there are certain things that they're doing or that you've heard of to help deal with
Well,
it.
always look at this picture first. When you cook something, you fractionate everything. And you release a radioactive material that will be damaging and harmful. When it is bound in other nutrients, it is neutralized to a great extent. So they cook the pig, they got big problems if it's high in radiation. If you don't cook the pig and eat it raw, most of it's going to be not stored in your body and it's going to pass out of the body. Either in the feces or in your urine, or less in the urine, but in feces, urine, and your perspiration. So it's not going to get into the glands and areas like that. Now the mushroom, how the mushroom works, the mushroom is just a fruit of the mycelium. Mycelium is a solvent, a living solvent, a fungus that goes into the ground and it eats dead roots. That's all it does, it eats dead roots. If it finds an insect with hardened arteries or a dead insect, it can also eat that. But its main purpose is to dissolve dried, dead roots of anything, whether tree, grass, bush, doesn't matter what it is, it eats roots. Once it's finished in a location, it will sprout mushrooms for the spores to spread, and it looks for more dried roots to do it. And of course, with grass, you cut it all the time. Like this grass is dead, there'd be a mycelium excellently to break those roots down to free up the soil so you could grow grass again. So the mushroom, when the radioactive material gets into the dirt and gets locked in with the minerals, and the mycelium breaks down its adjacent roots, and that radioactive material gets involved in the mushroom and the mycelium, and then it's part of the mushroom as it spores, and you consume it raw, the likelihood of you having a problem is very minimal. If you eat it cooked, you're always going to cause contamination. You've got arsenic, you've got lead, you've got mercury, you've got all of these trace toxic substances in every food you eat. Once you cook them, that makes them available to do damage. Otherwise, they're beneficial. Small amounts, they are beneficial when they're in conjunction and coupled with other nutrients. So remember, you want to have the greatest resistance to any kind of nuclear fallout. You have to do what the Japanese do. You eat lots of raw sushi or raw meats. It doesn't have to be fish. Just raw meats and lots of raw foods. They eat a lot of raw foods. They'll even have orange with their, their sashimi meals. A slice of orange at the end in Japan. They have mostly raw foods. They're the only country in the world that mostly eats raw foods besides the Maasai tribe, the Samburu, Fulani, and the Eskimo. Of course, they're eating sprouts and they're eating, seaweeds and stuff like that. They're very difficult to eat. But still, they're not putting so much contamination in their body from cooked foods that allow those toxic substances to infiltrate and do damage in their bodies. Even though they're not on the best diet like the Maasai, the Samburu, Fulani, and Eskimo used to be before they were ruined by Great Britain. And we've ruined Eskimos, and Great Britain has ruined all of Africa and those tribes. So the point is, you can protect yourself more with the raw foods. Cooking will damage you in more ways than one now that we have all this radioactive contamination. Yes?
What are they doing besides eating the raw fish? Are they eating more seaweed product, or is that contaminated there too?
Well, of course it's going to be contaminated now, but the Japanese are between a rock and a hard place. The U.S. government's going to destroy them. They were coming out with a car that ran on water this year.
Yeah.
It's been ruined. It's over. It's not happening. They were purposely ruined.
Because
That country will never survive now because you can't stop the China syndrome. It's too late.
To get back to the fish, is there anything that
I won't eat anything that isn't out of the deep ocean. I'll eat shark, I'll eat swordfish, and I'll eat tuna. Any deep sea fish.
you won't eat salmon?
No, I stopped eating salmon 2 years ago because every time I ate it, I got sick. And they're lying like a rug. The salmon industry, with Monsanto and their GMO, genetically modified fish, they released it over 15 years ago to the wild. Every time I eat salmon, even if it's from good waters, I get sick. So I stopped eating it about 3 years ago.
So ahi tuna, is that the big fish?
Yeah, that's deep.
On the mushroom, can we eat raw any mushroom in the market? Any mushroom. Okay, you don't need to cook all the big ones,
You can eat any one raw if you have, but what I'd suggest is you may have a lot of, let's say somebody who has multiple sclerosis. A mycelium would go wild in a body like that because that's what's going to eat up all these dead, dried nerve cells throughout the body. So they will go into a mass intoxication where they'll be an invalid, even though they used mostly become an invalid anyway as they advanced in MS. So you just have to try a little bit every day, a little bit of the same one, and see how you tolerate it. Because it will be a heavy detoxifier.
Oh, is that right?
The mushroom?
Mushrooms, yes.
How about the miso? The Japanese have that miso, the
Miso is full of salt, toxic stuff.
salt. That's ocean salt.
Yeah, it's like a third salt.
What about oysters and scallops, things like that?
The oyster has the ability to store all the poisons, even radioactive materials, in the shell. So I don't mind oysters. Clams, it depends upon the clam and what waters they're in. Mussels usually are pretty good too.
And what about scallops?
Scallops, I haven't tested scallops, so I don't really know.
What the liquid in oysters, is it too salty?
No, because that's seawater that's already been filtered, and a lot of the sodium's been eliminated, but still high in sodium. So you have to be careful. Some people will react to it, and some people won't.
I got headaches from it.
Yeah.
Really bad headaches from the water of the oyster.
Yeah, some people don't have a problem. I have one who was a Canadian model, and she's 6 foot tall. She's a huge boobs, like Dolly Parton. Big girl. And I got a call one evening. It was probably late afternoon, probably 5:30 my time, 8:30 their time in Toronto, or 7:30 their time. And she said, "This is Juliana. I'm at a restaurant, and I've eaten 28 oysters already, and I'm just hungry for them. I want to eat more. Is it okay?" I said, "You can eat as many as you want, as long as you don't get a headache or horny. You don't want to get horny in the restaurant and arrest your boyfriend." So hung up. I get a call an hour later, and it's her boyfriend saying she's eaten 115 oysters already. Is there going to be a problem here? I said, no. When she gets full, she'll stop eating it. She ate 128.
Jesus.
128 oysters. She was horny for 6 weeks, so her boyfriend loved it.
Is there a problem if they're farm raised? I had some oysters recently. I asked where they came from. They said they were farm raised.
Okay. In farming with oysters and clams and scallops, it's in the ocean. All they do is fence off an area, and they break off and replant them. They're still getting fed from the ocean. They don't get any supplement. They have to call that farming, though, because it's man-organized.
Excuse me. We have to go because of her work obligations.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Bye. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to see everybody.
Thanks for
All right.
coming.
What about mountain stream or mountain lake fish?
Well, as long as it's pure and not around, no
Industry
dumps
or
into
anything?
it.
You go.
Oh, I definitely eat it. Like at Rubilade Lake in the Colorado Mountains, just north of Alamosa, Colorado. I go fishing there, and I'll eat that trout and the catfish. I love catfish. They're fatty.
Okay.
Wonderful, as long as they're not polluted. However, I'm very nervous about everything now, so I'm taking put clay in almost all the milk that I drink, just to make sure that I've got enough to bind, and I'm eating cheese frequently to bind with any radioactive material. I had so much radiation therapy I can't risk it. You have a question?
I do.
You won.
Okay. Well, you talk about the Terramin clay. I've just started all this, so I've been using Zeolite for some time. I just wondered what you have to say about that.
Zeolite is not really that good. It's not really a clay that isn't processed. I like the clay from the Mojave Desert, the Terramin. It's from an old thermal aqua bed, and they mine it where it's never reached over 98 degrees, so the phosphorus is contained. And when you get a clay from a volcano bed, what happens in a volcano? You got temperatures of 1900 to 3200 degrees. What is burned off in gas? All of the alkalinizing minerals. All you have left is molten metals. Who the hell wants clay from molten metals? Doesn't make a frickin' bit of sense to me. Even though new algae and processes are going through breaking it down, I don't want heavy metals in any form. I'll feed them to plants. That's okay. They can handle them. They can eat them, but I can't.
So, if I want to get some Terramin clay, I just go online and ask.
Terramin.com, and that'll take you CaliforniaMinerals.org or .com, something like that, and you order it there.
You can get it from Jaffe Brothers, can't you? Right.
Pardon?
Can't you get it from Jaffe Brothers right in San Diego? I don't know.
Well, it's probably cheaper to get it right from the source.
Yeah. Can I have a second question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have an alkalinizer, ionizer, water ionizer, I have kind of coral-based calcium mineralizer that goes into it because it's purified and then it goes through that and it's ionized. Is that okay?
No. You're electrically altering the natural charges of the minerals, and you don't know what soup it's going to make inside your body. It's like, okay, the brain uses electrical charges and light. Is it okay to get, shock therapy? It discombobulates the whole nervous system. Most people that I know who had shock therapy had to relearn language, relearn math, relearn everything. So it's not a good thing. You okay?
I would like to know, I have recently got this little mole or whatever on my face, and I've got, like moles and warts or whatever. How can I get rid of those? Can I use iodine or apple cider vinegar or what's
Apple cider vinegar can help peel it off a little at a time. Pineapple, applying it once every 5 days. You don't want to do more than that. So you can use vinegar every day. You can use pineapple once every 5 days. But don't use the vinegar and the pineapple on the same day.
Just apply.
Yeah, just to the area, not all around.
Not drink it, just apply.
Well, you can drink it too.
But don't use the apple cider vinegar and the pineapple on the
Together.
together.
Not on the same day.
Yeah. Don't use together.
Use one or the other. And also papaya.
Just put papaya.
You can also rub papaya on. And what I tell people to do, I tell people to rotate pineapple, vinegar, papaya every 5 days. And you can put the vinegar, like I said, on every day if you want. But I like to rotate the vinegar, the papaya and the pineapple on the 5 days schedule. You're welcome. Lorraine? Uh-huh. You can refuse them.
Well, it's not on my house.
Uh-huh.
But the neighbor's house is so close. It's like 2 feet from my bedroom, 2 feet from
not legal. They have to have at least 6 feet between houses. So it has to be at least 6 feet away from you. The smart meter's on the house. Let's say it's in your bed. Is your bed right up against the wall where the smart meter is? So you've probably got 10 feet. So you're getting a fallout, but you're not getting the direct effects of it. But you're pretty sensitive. And you can use the clay and mesh to help buffer that. You could use it 2 to 3 times a day. 1 tablespoon of moist Terramin clay, that means pre-soaked Terramin clay in water, and then you put 1 tablespoon into 3 to 4 ounces of milk. You could do that 2 to 3 times daily. Right. Well, that should help a lot. The clay should help buffer a lot of that. And the hot water, of course, it helps perspire the toxins out of the body that are left over. If you're not perspiring those toxins out, they're just going to collect in your body and be worse, make you worse and worse collectively.
What is a smart meter? What is that?
It's a new measurement of electricity that's used in a house. And they create a huge magnetic and radiation field that goes like 6 feet, 6 to 10 feet. Wow. So if you got one on your house and you got a bedroom behind it or child's room, you're in trouble.
Wow.
That baby's in trouble, you're in trouble.
Do you have one on your house?
I don't let them.
Well, in San Diego, they said...
Pardon? No, I said I wouldn't let them.
But it's mandatory in San Diego. They said you can't refuse it. They put that right in the applications.
Well, you can sue them. All you got is get enough people together to sue them.
I refuse the gas.
Oh, you did? Huh?
You could have. I could have refused it. I just didn't.
It's a city. He doesn't want to
refuse
fuck
the electricity too?
City Hall. Yeah. Well, then what you need to do is get an attorney who will write it for you, and you can file it yourself. Yeah, well, that's okay. You pay them to write it. They only charge $6,000 to $8,000 to write the complaint. No, I'm saying you get a group of people together and you do it as a group. So you get, let's say, 15 people. It won't be a class action with 15 to 18 people. So each one of them puts in 500.
Aajonus, have you ever heard of a company named Earth? Com, C-A-L-M.
It vaguely rings a bell.
They create a product that acts like a ground, so you can either wear it, or you can plug it into your house and it grounds the wires through your house. I have something that plugs into my wireless router that grounds all my wireless things. I have a deal.
Did you take an did you take a tri-field meter and test?
I did take a meter, and I'm trying to think. Well, I took a meter to my surrounding area before I bought the system for the house. And I'd love for you just to look at it sometime. She seems like a very knowledgeable woman who is marketing.
Yeah, but I've seen very knowledgeable people selling all kinds of gadgets, and I put it there between that and the tri-field, meter and the source. And the only time I ever got a reaction was a biochip that you put on a cell phone.
Well,
it reduced it by 1 milligauss.
Well, I have to tell you, I feel better.
I mean, a half a milligauss.
I feel better from using it. My husband can now use his computer without getting headaches. My daughter can use her computer and things at her house without getting the same experience with the same thing. So I don't know that it's a cure, but maybe it abates it a little bit.
Well, it's still traveling through the air.
Yeah, see, the thing I'm afraid of, maybe they've buffered the symptoms of it, but the collective, harm done can be even worse.
Where would you measure on the tri-field meter? Where would you put the little reading?
I check on each one. I check
you
on
check
all
on
three.
Each one? Oh, you do?
Yeah.
All three? Oh.
Electromagnetic, electrostatic, and the radiation. I check all three waves.
This guy that I showed you, they can coating on the walls of a room. That's one way. I don't know what it is. And he has a silver cloth that can block. You put it over the meter, they can't read it anymore.
Yeah, I had the silver cloth. I've used that.
Yeah.
But they say sometimes the microwave, if you get into like you use the white fuel and like if it's not done properly, you can like make your house into
An oven.
Yeah, exactly. So even these guys that say they know what the hell they're doing, they don't.
They don't know all of it. They've worked out one little angle. It's like the medical profession. You work out one thing and then you've got a side effect of that, so you have to work out that angle, and you're taking 40 medications.
Yeah, I suppose if it was inside the house, then it's not going to get out. It's going to be bouncing.
Right, bouncing off back and forth inside. Now, what I did for my Prius and any car, they all have a very high electromagnetic field. I took inch round magnets and made them in 3 centrifugal circles. And I spaced them an inch apart all the way around, positive, north-south, 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 all the way around. So what it does is it repels, so it doesn't allow any frequency to stay steady. And I have that between 2 down pillows, and I sit on that in my car. When I used to drive down here, when I first got the Prius, that's a hybrid car with electric and gas, my legs used to ache, especially back here, with this foot on the pedal. And the highest amount of electromagnetic field is at that gas pedal. Like, can get up to, 75, 80 milligauss. Back away, it's 8 to 13, depending upon if it's running on electric or gas. So I made this pillow. Now I never have a problem.
They do sell material, at least I've seen on the internet, that does have shielding properties. This galvanized steel plate releases. I stuck a electric shaver into a galvanized steel plate and then took the meter next to it, and that would seem to work.
Did it work? Yeah. Did it lower the field? How much?
It eliminated it.
No kidding, completely. Galvanized steel.
Yeah, it's galvanized steel plate. That's what this guy said. That if the meter is facing out, it usually there's a plate behind it.
Right.
So it won't go in the house.
Go into the house. It'll keep broadcasting it out.
Yeah.
So use that.
On the meter? On the house meter?
Well, no, the meters are usually hung on the back of it is a steel plate, so it doesn't go into the house. But if you're standing in front of it, it's setting out.
It's facing me.
Yeah, I know you have a problem because your neighbor.
Exactly. They say it's radiating. I've talked to experts in the field. It radiates 360 degrees, and he said it goes up about 15 feet. So they're all broadcasting.
What you could do is ask your neighbor if there's a wall, put a steel plate that would block, in front of it. Well, if it goes up like this, it's going to miss your house.
If it's, you have to understand it broadcasts in a circle, in a wave like this. So if you have a plate that is close to it, the waves that are going to go above your house and into the ground. It's not going to hit your house.
Right.
Depending on how large the plate is and how close it is to the meter.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to have a big plate in your house to cover the wall, or on the outside of your house. That would be very expensive. But it might be worth it if you're suffering. everybody's getting bombarded with radiation. Everybody's getting more symptoms. You know, I'm on a diet, they're okay, but other people who are coming on to the diet have lots of symptoms of all kinds of things. Radiation. Pardon? You're one who doesn't handle it. Are you doing the hot baths? Then you need to do them because your system is very broken down. You don't clean the waste out. You don't clean the waste, they collect. And you're just going to get more sensitive and more sensitive. Absolutely. That's why I won't use a cell phone next to my head. I absolutely won't do it.
Yeah, and you have a like a tube, but I couldn't find anything like that on the internet. The smart and safe is closest to airless.
The Bluetooth?
No, it's airless.
Airless. They're air. They're not airless. They're just air. I have no wire in it at all.
Well, the wire comes up to here.
There's no wire. In mine, there's no wire.
There's no wire. No, the manufacturer. Who makes it?
Dr. McCullough has one called the Bluetooth.
Yeah, but that's got wire.
I thought it didn't have wire.
No, it has a tube, air tube from here to here. Then it has wire.
Yeah, well, I got that one, and bottom line, it didn't work. In fact, they didn't have the right charge for my cell phone. They sent me one that I had to get an adapter for, and when I used it, it didn't work anyway. Getting the adapter was really something.
Well, what I did with the Mercolas, that one, I went online to a security company that sells for CIA in the mill, and for security and all that. They have the white spiraling, tube, and I added that to the blue, so I had it way down here instead of just to here. I didn't want it near my thyroid, and I didn't want it anywhere around my neck, so I just put an extension on it.
It's from an Israeli, and it has two, because I found that what I had didn't work at all anyways. It has two tubes, and then it sort of comes down. I guess it comes over your heart, actually.
Yeah, and I don't want anything near my heart. So what I have now is a tube that's just pure air, and it's this long, and I just clip it to where the speaker is, and it takes the sound into the air tube.
You made that yourself, though. It's no manufacturer.
No, I bought it in Thailand. Go to ThaiOrganicLife.com. They're very cheap. I think I paid $23 for it, which beats Mercola's $35 one.
ThaiOrganicLife.com.
ThaiOrganicLife.com.
But you made it even longer. You put an extra.
No. That was on the Mercola one.
Oh.
I'll get it and I'll show you.
Oh, okay.
Take a break. Okay, you see it? It's nothing but a tube. And there's a piece that I lost on here that helps stick onto the back. But here's my mic. So I just put it, not the mic, the speaker. So I just clip it on like that. And the sound goes right in through here all the way up to my ear. So I can keep this far away from me.
Oh, that's
I can
great.
Yeah, I use this on my home phone too.
And when you talk, it picks it up?
Yeah. Oh, well, It goes in through here. So as long as you've got a good mic in your phone, it'll still pick up. You know, so there's no sound attached to this like there is with Mercola's thing.
The wire? Yeah.
Right.
Right, okay.
Did someone make that for you, or you bought it?
No, I bought it in Thailand.
Oh, did they have it here?
They have it here. That's where they come from, but I don't know who makes it, manufactures it.
It just pumps the noise into your ear, right?
Pardon?
It goes through the air, huh?
Yeah, it just goes through the air in the tube.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
And you said you could check it out on the internet?
Good. It's the Thai Organic Life sells them.
How do you get it on your cell phone? No, I don't get it.
Oh, well, there's supposed to be another
Well, you
piece
guys,
here
if-
that I broke
If
off.
we can get a discount by getting
But it goes
quantity
like this. It just clips
get it
on.
through Ron, then we can just get a sale off.
See the speakers right here? You put it on your speaker.
I really have that one, and the one they were trying to sell me, the short one.
Yeah. No, this one's long, so I can keep it far away from my body. See it, Michael?
I gave Lisa the cream.
internet, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I had an I told Dave that I had an extra one,
It's on your
but there's so much
car.
confusion when you're trying to do everything. I didn't give it back to him.
It had
psoriasis or something.
sound that
Oh,
goes
yes.
out and
Yeah,
in
they were.
is not
Yeah,
bouncing
that's what
around
he said,
inside
yeah.
the car.
Uh-huh. I don't have it now.
I got it.
Right. Why, do you have it?
No, but I did know somebody that was.
Oh, you know, your phone goes like
I
this
remember
when
the
you talk,
conversation with
so
you.
the speaker's always going
Yeah,
to
I
be
had
up here
really bad,
near your ear.
super bad dry skin.
That's your speaker. So you can
hands
just
were a mess.
flip this on. Like I said, it has
Just all
normally
went
a
away
rubber
by
thing
just
on
doing
this
the
side.
diagram.
What I was thinking of was if I could maybe get your phone number, I could give it to the woman because she has psoriasis and she.
That's as a copper wire that goes up to your ear, sends out magnetic as well as electromagnetic.
And heating blankets are not good.
Pardon?
Heating blankets are not good for you.
Very good.
Well, not me. It isn't for me.
You get a hot water bottle, a couple of hot water bottles, and let that do you all night, and we'll take care
Would
of
you be
you
able
all
to
night.
use that thing like on an iPad or something? Or
Pardon?
Would you be able to use that on an iPad or?
You can use it on anything that you can clip onto the speaker. Just remember, you can only open it this wide. But, in fact, it has another piece that broke off that's like this rubber that keeps it from sliding off and makes a good grip.
Okay.
Okay, we were over here.
I wanted to ask my question.
You helped me a lot. Do you have anything else to say about if we have to have dental work done, cavities?
Well, I'm going to say, if you're going to have them done, you find a dentist that will do what you want, do without x-rays, and you won't find it in the United States. You won't find it. You have to go to Mexico. I use Dr. Breton, Tomas Breton, in Mexico. He does exactly what I want, even if he doesn't agree. And when I have a filling pop out, I have him scrape off the epoxy. He's not allowed to drill anymore. And he'll fill it in. And my teeth have started regenerating. So I have a filling that's filled like this. And as my tubule and dentine fills in, it pushes out the filling, and then the filling pops off. So I've got new growth. So if I have him drill them out, it's going to go to that same size again. So for the past 10 years, I haven't allowed him to do that. So now my filling, which was this big, is now this big. So I don't let him drill anymore. I only let him scrape off the old epoxy and any black, mold that might be there, because the mold is there to break down, the toxicity there of
Where
fungus.
can I find his address?
He's in Mexico. He's in Tijuana. Tomas Breton. You'll find him on the internet. Oh no, you're not going through that area. That area is not drug lord.
I went over there by myself. All by myself.
Yeah.
I went
No,
there.
that's not. No, you have to go way. You
got
have to go further east of Tijuana to get to there. They've got too many military men with machine guns, so they don't mess with them there.
Do you just go through the border out here and take a taxi? Or how do you
No,
Yeah,
I drive
you-
through.
Well, I think you have to park on the American side, and then you walk through,
That's if you want to walk and take a taxi. I drive through. You just have to have your passport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you don't have to have
How do you spell Britann?
It's B-R-T-R-I.
No, I've gone over there for 6 years now. Never had a
I've been going
problem.
to Ducati every month for 8 years.
Yeah,
O-N.
O-N.
no problem.
Ducati's not.
You've been there?
They love Americans to take their money over there.
How's the price? How is price?
The price is incredible.
Yeah, it's like
Well,
one
this
third of
thing-
what you pay here, or half of what you pay here.
This is a flipper.
Yeah.
And for one tooth flipper, I saw a holistic dentist here in LA,
3,000.
and it was like $1,000. It was $1,000. This 2 teeth, and it looks very real. $80
You only charge you 80?
for this. It's the flipper though. I can take it in and out. It's plastic.
Yeah, but he charged me for a flipper. He charged me $300. You're too pretty. That's it. But when I wanted to have it done in LA, they wanted $1,000 for it, and he charged me $300.
Oh, wow.
I just wonder, so if he cannot see the X-ray, how he can see inside what's happening?
He doesn't get to see inside. It's not different business is happening on the inside of my body.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes you kind of wait with cavities,
Yeah, you can wait and see. And if they're not getting bigger, then don't worry about it.
That Rami guy that wrote the book Heal Your Teeth or Heal Tooth Decay. I mean, I have that book and he basically talks about the diet, and if you're on this diet, that it will fill up naturally, like it will heal itself naturally, cavities.
Yeah, but it takes years. It was like I had to be on the diet 15 years before it started making a difference in my teeth.
Yeah.
You know, but I had radiation and chemo and
So, yeah.
surgeries, so it may have been just that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That I haven't studied thoroughly with other people. Just my own situation, my own case.
He mentions your diet kindly in the first book, but in the second edition he takes it out.
What does he say in the second?
He just doesn't say anything about the
Oh,
diet.
okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Because he says in the first, he doesn't have to say in the second.
Well, he took it out.
He's writing to me. Oh, you mean, the second edition?
Yeah, he made it. Yes, I'm almost positive because it wasn't there.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. No, I just
read
talked
it.
with him a couple of days ago.
So you think there's no dentist that will treat you, give you a cleaning?
It breaks the law. There's
Really?
a law in this country
Wow.
where you have to follow the dental ADA's rules, and the ADA's rules are now, in the last 5 years, you have to have x-rays, and you have to do this whole procedure.
Oh, wow.
And if with certain procedures, you have to do certain things.
Wow.
You know, I don't go along with it. Yes?
the ADA is also the state board.
State board?
Yeah.
Okay, state board does it. But from the ADA's rulings. They're just following the ADA's.
They don't have any network. They try to control.
Well, who do you think makes up the government office? They're working for the ADA, like the FDA and them are working for the AMA, pharmaceuticals.
And Monsanto.
Yeah. Okay. Did you ask a question?
I did.
Okay. And Lorraine did. Now it's your turn.
No, it's his turn. I'm there. So
Okay,
You can
yes.
go ahead.
I had a flu I didn't have for 5-6 years, and then finally I had a flu, very bad flu, and for a week or so, and it was so bad, I asked my friend, he said, take grapefruit seed extract. And he said it's a natural antibiotic.
Yeah, it's a natural poison. Yeah, but it's not natural when it's extracted, because they use heat and they use a solvent to extract it. And they use a kerosene derivative. So what you did was poison your body. You have to say antibiotics and medications poison the body to stop the symptom. So you've got a symptom there because you've got toxicity in a particular area doing damage. That is why you detox. If you stop that, you're not remedying the problem. You're adding poisons to the problem.
I was so desperate. I thought that is because of flu. It was a flu.
Well, you have to read about it in my newsletters because that's a whole hour, 2-hour lecture.
So basically, if I have a flu, I just let it go.
Absolutely. Well, you eat the right foods. The ones I suggest in the in the recipe.
For 5-6 years without any flu.
Yeah. That's not good. That's a cleansing. I suggest everybody have 3 detoxes a year, 2 colds and 1 flu. I pray for them.
Well, how do you force one? I haven't had one for a long time. I just don't get them.
If you're taking the hot baths, regularly, you won't have to do it because you're already taking care of it.
I have the phlegm coming out, the allergic phlegm. I think that's my detox.
That's your detox. Your mucus is taking the poison.
So the flu is unusual for me, so I thought it was something so I was not used to it. And, so I didn't know how to deal with that.
Well, the flu, you do the same way. You take it out with the mucus. You have to eat the foods that build mucus, like milkshake. It's in my recipe book on page 145. 145 or 147?
On the second book.
Yes. Okay. 145 or 147.
Okay. So flu, just let it come. Okay.
Michael, do you have a question?
A lot of these.
You've already asked my question. Your questions, right? Yeah, you got your personal ones. Okay, do you have a question?
I was going to ask a little bit more about my asthma. I've been eating more eggs, but I probably should do more baths.
Yeah, but you have to understand, anybody who has an allergy is not making proper mucus. If you look at mucus under a high-powered electronic microscope, it'll look like layers of cloth, one on top of another. The more layers, the thicker and the stronger. If the mesh is wide open and not tight in the weaving, then particles will pass through, get to the mucous membranes, and irritate them. And that's what allergies are. So you're not building your mucus properly yet. And milkshakes is the best way to build it. And of course, eating enough protein. So I recommend like I had a patient in South Africa who set up my lecture tour there. He's on a diet doing greatly, but he's staying away from mucus-forming foods to deal with his allergies. And I said, it's just the opposite. Just the opposite. You need to build the mucus. So he started eating 2 to 3 milkshakes a day, and in 2 days he had over 50% relief.
I know that some days I get a lot of mucus coming out. Other days, when it's not, then I get tight.
Then you need the milkshakes right away.
Okay.
You need to eat 1 or 2 every day when you have your kind of condition. Don't let it dry out. Don't let it get let yourself get mucus deficient. Because if your body's using it as an excretory point, you've got to have more mucus to replace it.
Okay.
Okay? Good.
Do you have to do the milkshakes? Can you just drink the milk and eggs and stuff separately? Does that have the same effect?
No, it will not do the same.
You got to have it together.
You have to have it together, yes. And with the cream in it, too.
So if I have a lot of phlegm come out, mucus come out, that I'm doing fine.
You're doing great because you're getting the poisons out of the body that cause harm.
Too, so that's the way I think it goes.
That's one way you expel it. Secreting it, 90% is supposed to come out the skin and perspiration. That's why you do the hot baths every day.
That's how wise. You gotta be on the.
Oh, hi there. No, let him go.
I like not going to bother you.
Aajonus, how bad is
eat him.
how bad is caffeine for you? Like whether it's coffee or tea or one of those things. Like
well, it's a stimulant and it's a high metallic one because you cook it. and you fractionated the component of caffeine is like some parts mercury, some parts lead, some parts arsenic. So it's a toxin, and that's what stimulates the nervous system. And they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that's an ingredient.
That's interesting, really.
Yep.
So all that.
When you cook it, you make it into a very toxic substance. And it irritates the nervous system. It poisons the nervous system. And the nervous system tries to resist. So it makes the whole body hyper. I remember when I was on General Hospital, they stick me in tellies a lot. So I had to, act like I'm drinking coffee. And they actually serve coffee, hot coffee. So I put it up in my mouth, I just put it on my tongue and spit it right back out. I would get so buzzed from just touching my tongue. I would stand there and be shaking from it. So I had to learn to put it up to my lips and down again.
And why do some people feel better? Is it
because
does
they have
something?
chronic fatigue. And it gives them a little energy.
Yeah, I came from a country where people drink 6, 7, 8 espressos a day.
Yeah. Well, this country does it. I drank 11 cups a day. I had no energy. I was chronically fatigued. I was taking Benzedrine. I was drinking 11 cups of coffee a day and smoking 2 packs of non-filtered Lucky Strikes daily for my energy. Then I couldn't sleep at night, so I drank a fifth of gin or bourbon. And I ended up with an ulcer. It was so big I was vomiting a cup of blood at a time. So those aren't healthy ways to stimulate yourself.
How about tea? No?
Tea's also a toxin. There's caffeine in a lot of them. A lot of heavy metals in them.
You detox from nut from caffeine?
Pardon?
Detox from caffeine with nut formula?
It'll help because you have the starches in there to bind with the caffeine. But I think that the clay and the milk work a little bit better and the cheeses. Okay, Marilyn.
I have seems to be a chronic infection under. I don't know if you remember. I had a tooth that I succumbed to getting it to starting a root canal. Right. So they reamed out the thing, but I've managed to keep from getting it filled. It's been like 3 years now. But
And
I can't
the tooth
chew.
is not turning black and rotting?
No.
Well, how wonderful.
But I have if I don't have enough juice every day, it starts to get irritated at the base, and I can't chew on it. If I put pressure on it, or if I'm grinding my teeth at night or something, it gets irritated. Now I haven't been doing the baths, so it may be that I'm just not releasing it
I can
enough.
see
I'm
you're
just
not
wondering if
doing the
there's
baths because you've got a collection of waste in your connective tissue that is beaucoup.
Yeah, I need to do it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But would that probably be enough to relieve this, or do I need to just go ahead and get the tooth out? I mean,
Or fill
get
it.
to handle it, or go ahead and fill it.
Yeah. I filled all my root canals.
Did you? What did you fill them with?
I had them filled with a calcium, like dolomite. I had put it out. I would use Terramin clay. But when I had it done, I had used a dolomite product.
So you could get it just packed in there with the dolomite clay up in the little hole,
Yep.
and then.
And then have them put a plastic over that.
Okay. Yeah, because this is maintained pretty darn well, amazingly well. Okay.
You're on a good diet.
Yes.
Anybody that didn't get a question? Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm going to do surgery. I've got the recipes in the book, the remedies, the vinegar and the lemon juice and the olive oil and stuff like that.
And would that dissolve the stone?
Yeah.
It's fun. I also feel very tired in the morning when I get up. I don't have like energy or anything.
Okay. There's a lot of things you need to read in my books because you're asking a lot of questions that are answered. She said, I don't feel energy in the morning. She feels very tired. It's mainly because people sleep over 5 hours without eating. They go 5 hours without eating. The protein level in the blood completely drops to nil. So the red blood cells become cannibalistic and eat each other. So if you sleep 8 to 10 hours, you're going to lose 1 to 2 tablespoons of red blood cells. That's anemia. And it may take the spleen anywhere from 40 minutes to 2 hours to replace that 1 to 2 tablespoons. So for the first 2 hours of your day, you're going to have anemia. If you awaken and eat and then go back to sleep, you won't have that problem.
Eat protein.
Yeah, it's an egg or milkshake or milk. Or some meat. Whichever you like. Just if you eat meat in the middle of the night, you might get too much energy. Milkshake is more relaxing. Milk is also relaxing. Yes, Lisa?
Just to bring that up, it's not really a question, but I didn't know, are you aware that there's a primal diet group on Facebook that actually a roommate of mine that saw you once a few years ago started, Teresa Foxworth?
Uh-huh. I'm aware of it.
Well, they were dialoguing back and forth yesterday, and they throw a question out, and then a bunch of people answer it. But my thought about it, and my concern was about it, is they answer the questions wrong. I mean, and then like they got in this whole thing about essential oils yesterday, and the one lady goes, "Well, but some essential oils are good because click on this link." And I wrote down, and I said, "Well, the thing is, we didn't ask Aajonus, and he's researched it. You're talking about his diet, so I mean, if you're not going to follow that, the information you give us, how do you have a primal diet group?"
Nothing I can control about it,
Yeah. And I thought, well, does that really matter to you? Because they put your pictures in there.
Wow.
Like it's for you, and then promoting all this stuff.
Well, then they need to put an address up there and say this. People who give information are not doing it from Aajonus.
Yeah.
Unless they're quoting from the books. Do you know that person still?
Yeah.
Okay, then tell her she needs to put, was it a woman?
Just a discussion about it, because it makes it look like it's your...
Yeah, no, they can't do that. If they're using the primal diet, I have that trademark.
Yeah.
And they can't do that. So if she's going to use it with my permission, she has to put there. The advice you get on this is from other people and other thoughts. They're not Aajonus's.
Yeah. So I said, well, I'd ask that one question. Because if this is going to be the ongoing thing, then I don't, I didn't really want to participate because I don't want to be badgering information back and forth and, disputing it and then arguing. You know how that gets.
Yep.
Well, I said this. And I just wanted to be aware of it.
No, I was not aware of it. I don't get on Facebook. When you sign up for Facebook, you allow them to use any photograph is up there on your website, and they can rewrite any of the dialogue, and they can use any material in any fashion in any way they want. Not going to get that from me.
Yeah. Well, I've got my childhood best friend on there, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
don't really use it for...
Well, you're not a public figure,
Yeah, I'm
so.
not going to sit out there and talk material that I'm going to get. When I saw that, I thought it was kind of nasty. I'll just let them know that.
Okay.
That way.
Yeah, it needs to be posted on whatever page it is.
So what is the after status? Are there any oils that are any good, or are they all toxic?
All essential oils are distilled at 267 degrees if th're youngs.
They're kind of saying that
And even Jung even says in his book, nature does it from 52 to 67 degrees, not 267. Just because he's 200 degrees lower than everybody else doesn't make it a good oil. It is a solvent when it's distilled at that temperature and eats right into a cell. A cell doesn't have a choice. It's like gasoline or kerosene. You put the oil in and you would have to somehow let it sit and ferment until the oil separated. Yeah. Yep. But then again, any kind of an oil separation is going to be more solvent reactive. Cleanser. It isn't like butter or cream which stabilize and strengthen the body. It will act as a cleanser. Now most people are full of plastic wax, fats. So when they use the distilled oils, it goes in there and breaks them down. But the byproduct is very toxic. So they may feel better, because now their lymph system and other things are flowing, and maybe they're perspiring now in their neck or wherever they're using them, or in their sinuses, but it will start at some point within a few months of using it to deteriorate your tissues, dissolve them. And what happens when you use them for 10, 15 years and you've got mucous membranes that are all scar tissue? Then it happens in the lungs. What's going to happen if you can't absorb oxygen? It's going to be a vegetable. Most people put it on their neck. Right. And also, it'll start breaking down all the lymphatic congestion in the lymph. But it doesn't do it safely.
I put them on toenails that look kind of gnarly.
Uh-huh.
And it brings it back to normal.
Yeah, it'll dissolve them. It'll definitely do that.
Not dissolve it, it allows the nail to become normal.
No, it stops the detoxing of heavy metals. It causes the warped toenails. I'd rather have warped toenails for a while and let it remove from my body. Of course, if you start doing the hot bath, you're going to eliminate a lot of it and it won't have to build it into the nails and hair.
Yeah.
But I'd much prefer gnarly nails than have the poisons remain in my body, heavy metals.
What about dry eyes and watery eyes after a day of work?
Let me finish this. When I was, after I got abducted and injected with those, I started having all kinds, still have all kinds of detox. This is all numb, completely numb here.
Wow.
Can barely feel anything. Very thick pads. When it happened, you see how thick that is? That's a third of what it was. I used to take a knife and just peel them off. I mean, that thick, I would peel the pads off. I'm about ready to do it again in this area after that. And this is some of that. This is a cancer tumor that came about, and I got them all over my feet about 2 months ago.
Wow.
And you can see I got rid of all of them except for this one. And this one's starting to dissolve, but I have to soak it in hot water for a couple of hours every few days just to keep it from going hard again. And starting to get hard again right now. So I got to soak it. But you can see all the damage and see what it did to the nails. I had perfect feet. Everybody used to admire my feet.
Wow.
Nails were perfect. They're not perfect anymore, but they're getting better. This one was this thick. This one was this thick. And it just, your body builds toxic metals into the hair and nails. So it just went nuts. Now this one's starting to become normal. This one is starting to become normal again. All of these are normal except for this one and this one and this one. But they're all gnarly since 2 years ago when it happened. So I'm just now coming to a point of detoxing all of it.
What happened 2 years ago?
I was abducted. I talked against the swine flu vaccine on national radio. I created a cold campaign against it because I was in the swine flu fiasco of 1976. I got death threats and everything, and 6 weeks after that, I was in the Philippines and abducted in a hotel room and given 3 shots. And I got very sick. I got sores bigger than this all over.
Shots?
Yeah, injections.
They give injections.
Scar here.
Probably swine
here.
flu
Oh, this one's going.
vaccinations or
Got a
whatever.
scab and it's healing.
For you
And
to-
another one here.
The shots for what? You don't know what's.
I imagine they were swine flu because on the radio station I said the only way you can get swine flu is to get the swine flu shot. And a rap group, a famous rap group in England heard my broadcast, so they made $1 million video within a week. I mean, it was very complex, and they have my voice in there several times throughout it. And one of them is saying, you cannot get the swine flu without getting the swine flu vaccine. So I just think they wanted to give me the swine flu and say, see, he got swine flu, and he died.
Right.
But I didn't die.
So if somebody gets skin tags a lot, it's the same thing, the body's putting toxins in something that'll move it out and move it away.
Yeah, dead cells. Cancer is always a collection of dead cells. because your body can't dissolve the dead cells. Lymphatic system's too jammed. Or your liver is, 90% of the cancers that I've seen, it was also liver problem, where the liver was not making the bile to digest the fats properly, so the lymph system could dissolve cells. And the body was so toxic that bacteria and parasites and fungus couldn't break down those dead cells because they were poisoned to death by some industrial chemical. So cancer is nothing than the body's inability to dissolve dead cells.
Well, what if it's just skin cancer?
That's cancer.
Is it?
Any kind. A wart, a mole is a tumor. They're all tumors.
Oh, okay.
So all this will help if you take in the bath because you can keep
Keep things moving out of the body, yeah. So they don't back up and collect. Yeah.
Accumulate.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Aajonus, I know you want us to have the water in our noses.
No, well, to the nose. Not, I don't know. If you have a snorkel, you can put your entire head in.
But let's say you do just have it up your waist or something. Are you still getting benefits on that
Absolutely.
part of
In
your
the
body?
lower part of just remember, you've got your main lymph glands here. Okay? And here. And here. It's your main lymph glands network. Those would need to be under your water the most.
So if you do this one part at a time and you do another part a different day and focus on them, will that still...
Well, that'll work, but, it won't work as well. Immersing the torso under is best. Even if you have just the water up to here, you're still going to get all these glands, maybe not these up in here, but you're going to get most of them.
Even if you had to have your feet out of the water or something?
You've got glands up to here, but like I said, if you cross your legs like this, there's plenty of room in a small tub. I do it all the time. People are saying, well, I have to lift my legs out if I get down in. I said, well, you're not crossing your legs like this. It's easy.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
So is all that extra skin that you have
When
under
the
your
knees
arms,
go under, everything goes under.
all that skin that you have under your arms, is that all just congested lymphatic?
Well, not only that, you're not dissolving dead skin. You've got so many poisons. Now, after I got to the shots, first time, see that skin? I've never had skin like that. And it also dropped here. Now in the last, since I started this heavy detox 2 months ago, all of that skin that was sagging here is now gone.
Because of the bath.
Yeah, well, I went to a hot springs when this started coming out, and I lived in the hot springs. I mean, I was in there, 8 hours a day.
Which hot spring?
In Philippines.
Was that American people or American? Or...
Yes, they look Caucasian. Definitely, yeah. But it tells all about the episode in one of my newsletters of last year, about a year ago. Okay, what time is it?
5.
Okay, that's it, folks.
I have a question related to EMF, so because it's in my head. If I have to set my room, I know there's outlets around the wall. If I put my bed outside the wall, my bed is against 2 walls. Put outside that, does it help?
Yes, it definitely helps. But if you've got an electromagnetic field that goes farther than this from a socket, it's not grounded. You just go under the house and you ground it, or you get somebody to put a ground wire on that socket.
That's it.
That's it.
And for the watery eyes, it was unclear, or they get dry in the water and it gets
Well, putting egg white in your eyes, but I've got all that in the book.
Is that milk or is that a concoction?
5,000 times.
Is that milk you're drinking or is that a special mixture?
Oh, this is Gerolsteiner milk?
Yeah.
I got it from Gerolsteiner's house. I just like drinking out of these. It's easy.
It's just milk.
I don't wear it. Because with this, I drink out of a larger, I've got milk constantly.
Yeah, that's the way.
Milk
But
out
then
of
you
my
can lick
mustache.
it off your beard later.
So why
Yeah,
did you
right.
decide to grow that?
Pardon?
Why did you decide to grow that?
Oh,
For
I
the hell
just
of
got
it?
tired of shaving.
You did?
Yeah. From the age of, let's see, it was 1973, I started growing a beard. and I didn't cut it until 1979.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then I grew it again for 3 years, from 1981 to 84. And then when I became an actor, I cut it again in